Israel, Pakistan's ideological rival. 3. Saturday, September 5, 2020. There are merely two objectives for which one may leave his peaceful and prosperous environment and settle in desolate regions. The first one is that you have been pushed to the limits of a miserable life so that you secretly move to a place where no one can find you, and the second one is that you have become mad in pursuit of love and affection or move out the way to find your destination of knowledge. In contrast, the return of Jews to the wilderness of Israel was very different from the migration of ordinary people. Neither did they come here in search of employment, nor for the cultivation of fertile fields. They have been given the lure of settling in this desert for the last 2,000 years. Every Jewish child was brought up with the dream that one day he would go to the Holy Land, where he would fight as part of the army of the coming great Messiah whose world government would be established all over the world. That is why the structure of Israel is not a nation-state but a garrison. If you study all the laws of Israel including the principles of governance, the way of life and even cities and regional defense system, you will see a huge cantonment where every citizen requires having at least 3 years of military service. Israel's existence was based on a purely religious belief and ideology. That is why the state has not made any written constitution of its own, but they consider the Torah and the Talmud as their constitution. In contrast to this religious belief of Jews to establish a world government of Israel, Islam also gave the conception of the signs of the hour and the last hour, which clearly explains the last battle of good and evil Armageddon before the day of judgment. According to the predictions of Sayyid al-Abniya, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, this battle in which the Muslims will be ultimately victorious is to take place in part of the land which is called Land of Syria and belongs to Palestine or present-day Israel. Explaining the history of the children of Israel or the Israelis, the Holy Quran has finally said about this battle, "Now you settle down in the earth, when the promise of the hereafter comes to pass, we will assemble you together." Al-Isra 17, verse 104. Earlier it was also mentioned to scatter the offspring of Israel in the land. It is said, "And we divided them throughout the earth into nations." Al-Araf 7, verse 168. The Quran also mentions the purpose of this return after mentioning the Jews scattering in the earth for 2,000 years and then gathering in Jerusalem for the last battle. "Maybe now your Lord will have mercy on you, but if you repeat your previous course, we will repeat our punishment." Al-Isra 17, verse 8. What punishment will be repeated? Allah has mentioned the last two punishments. Allah Almighty says, "When the first rebellion came, O children of Israel, we sent against you servants of ours, those of great military might, and they invaded your land. It was a promise that had to be fulfilled." Al-Isra 17, verse 5. It mentions the destruction of Jerusalem's first temple, the Temple of Solomon, when in 589 BC, the Babylonian ruler Banu-Nekhtar II laid siege to the city that lasted for 30 months. The Temple of Solomon was demolished, all able and useful people were enslaved and the whole city was razed to the ground. After mentioning this incident, Allah has again mentioned his blessings on the children of Israel. After their return to Jerusalem, the Jews opposed the prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, and crucified him in their own minds. So God, Allah, imposed a second punishment on the children of Israel, which is mentioned as follows: "Then when the time of the second promise came, we sent your other enemies so that they may disfigure your faces and enter the mosque, the holy house, in the same manner as the enemy entered the first time, and to destroy what they had taken over with total destruction." Al-Isra 17, verse 7. The second catastrophe recorded in the Quran occurred in 70 AD. The Roman general Titus Vespasian, with 20,000 troops, laid siege to Jerusalem on April 14, 70, lasting 4 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days. 1.1 million Jews were killed and 97,000 were enslaved. And now Allah has gathered the Jews back to Jerusalem for the final battle. Allah says if you disobey this time, the punishment will be the same as before. Who will give this punishment? This is explained in detail in the hadiths of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. He said, You will fight the Jews until a Jew hides behind a rock and the stone will say, Servant of Allah. This Jew is hiding behind me, kill him. Sahih Bukhari, 2925. This is the final battle between the Muslims and the Jews on the same land of Palestine. That is why, as a prelude to a pre-Israeli conspiracy, the surrounding Muslims were divided into Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon and other states in the name of nationality, and the spark of Arab nationalism ignited in them. The Jews are well aware that as long as Muslims fight them in the name of nationality, they will be defeated. But if they fight as a Muslim nation, this war could cost Israel dearly. But my Allah also has his own plans. According to the Hadiths, neither the Arabs nor the non-Arabs will be the victorious nation in the final battle with the Jews. The Arabs will be completely wiped off the face of the earth. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, First the Persians will perish among the people, then the Arabs will follow them. Kitab al-Fitna, 56. Mention of the complete destruction of the Arabs is a permanent feature of innumerable hadiths. The flag of the nation which will be hoisted on the land of Jerusalem will come from the land of Khorasan settled between the river Indus and the river Rame. There are two different hadiths. In one place the word east is used and in another place Khorasan. Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, Black flags will come out of Khorasan, east, and no force will be able to turn them back, until they are hoisted in Aliyah, Jerusalem, Terming, Musnad Ahmad. Evaluate God's plans by the fact that the Jews, with the help of the world powers, divided the Muslim Ummah in the name of nationalism and were moving towards the establishment of Israel with satisfaction, but God did exactly 9 months before the establishment of Israel. On August 14, Allah Almighty established a state called Pakistan in the same region of Khorasan and East, which is based on the Kalmat-e-Yaba. That is the Pakistan regarding which the first Israeli Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, warned in his victory speech in Paris after winning the 1967 war. The speech was published in the 1967 Jewish Chronicle. Ben-Gurion said, The Zionist movement around the world must be aware of the dangers posed by Pakistan and now Pakistan must be our first target because this ideological state is a threat to our survival. The whole of Pakistan hates Jews and loves Arabs. This Arab lover is more dangerous than the Arabs. That is why it is time for the international Zionist movement to take immediate action against the Pakistan. Hindus in India hate Pakistanis, so India could be the best country to work against Pakistan. To be continued.